I would think it's even.
Have you got a cloth you've been using to rub this out with?
Want me to? This one? Let's figure out it.
No, that looks pretty good. All right.
I'm not excited. You're proud of that, So Mark, you want it 1 to 3 or 1 to 4?
I think 1, 2, 4 is probably fine.
Okay, so 4 parts.
Yeah, it's kind of a hot day today, but it's nighttime, so usually the hotter and drier it is, the more linseed you put in, and
Okay,
the less
so
turpentine.
it's like 3 linseed to 1 turp or 4 linseed to 1 turp?
No, other way around.
Oh, the other way around, okay.
And you know, when it gets cooler and damper in the winter, it'll be probably 4 to 1 all the time.
Can you just keep it, like if I mix it up tonight and don't use it?
Sure. Yeah, you can. You know, if you really wait a long time, months and months, just check it and see if the linseed has gotten kind of gummy or something, that's all.
Have my linseed oil mixture for stuff. So far.
But you want more linseed though, right?
More linseed,
I mean, a little-
more terp compared to linseed is what you want. Maybe I didn't understand.
I'm just trying to figure out the consistency.
Yeah, the consistency would, actually take your hand and run it through there just with the brush. Yeah, you should. Sure.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm not trying to even it out or anything of that kind, just basically covering.
The paint that you have in the palette, is that mixed with that mixture of linseed oil?
Paint that's on the palette
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, this is just right out of the tube, and I'm just adding
Oh, I
the
see.
mixture
I
as
see.
I go.
You're adding to it, okay.
It's in the fans?
Actually, you don't know it, but it's being pulled out right now. This ventilation system is doing it, yeah. It's built into the air conditioning. All right, now we're going to start pulling out the light pattern on the subject. And when I say that, what I mean is if you look at the model and you see the shadows on her figure by squinting, then they separate very dramatically from the light planes on the torso. And we can see a shadow under the nose, we can see shadow on the lower lid, side of the eye, side of the face, under the mouth, under the nose, on the neck, against the background, under the breast, next to the breast, under the arm. And then the hair, even in the light, is part of the dark pattern. So everything other than what I just mentioned, I'm going to rub out with this. Although I don't quite know how far down the figure will paint, probably just to the arm. So I want to maybe demonstrate a little more detail in the head tonight, because I know that's going to be an issue with people. What I sometimes do on the head is I rub the whole thing out as a shape,
Just actually, no, you don't
and then I'll dry brush in some of the dark pattern on it. And we can, at about the same time, paint back in dark pattern. Here, I'm pretty much just taking the paint as it comes out of the tube. The paint's pretty slippery at this point, but it sets up for you so that after about 40 minutes, usually is prime time depending on the temperature and the mixture of linseed and turf. Not at all being fussy about anything at this point. It's really a lot like sculpting. So you're working with one hand using your lights, and the other describing your darks.
list always.
And you're always trying to summarize, never succumbing to the strong temptation to indulge in drawing, painting details. We'll move, in spite of ourselves, toward detail just by painting the most important parts as they present themselves, but not any one part.
Has the surface gotten a little tackier at this time?
I'm sorry?
Has the surface gotten a little tackier? So
Only slightly. It's gotten less runny. You notice it's not just dripping everywhere. It's still not quite what I would call tacky. But it's getting there. Texture that's in here, I don't mind at all. It's kind of refreshing at this point. This process is capable of being so photographically realistic that it boggles the mind. And so to let it have a little bit of direction and so forth right now, it's actually kind of refreshing. We may even benefit by having it here and then having the option as we proceed to leave some of that sketchiness into it. Make it a little more of a painting, less of a rendering. Notice that the lights on the torso are darker than the lights on the head, on the whole. And so if I rub this area, not quite as hard, or maybe even with parts of the rag that I've already used, so that it doesn't pick up as much paint, well, that's probably just fine, not desirable. The silhouette not perfect, parts of it not perfect, texture here and there, none of that bothers me. That's all stuff that we can make so many adjustments to. It's simple. Now, if this were one of those cases where I started off with a drawing and it was pretty tight, like the drawing in the book I showed you, then you'd probably want to be a little more precise because you already took the trouble of laying everything in. This is part of the drawing process, what I'm doing, so I'm just finding the drawing. You got another, do you have another rag there, Vera? Is that one yours? I want to try to achieve the same degree of contrast in the painting that I see on the model stand. And that's a lot. The light skin against the dark background. So I want to get those areas reasonably well rubbed out early. We'll start to refine some of our shapes now.
Can you use a dry brush to pull out some of the lights?
Yep. You can use Q-tips, kneaded erasers, rags, a dry brush, or probably a couple other things too. It's a very plastic, and until it dries at least, a very forgiving medium. Now the bottom line is, at the end of the session, when you're doing this, you do want to walk away with a painting that may not be finished, but it's complete. It has every part that, the finished painting is going to have to address. So it might not have all the perfect edges that you want, or it might still have an area or two that needs work, but it's an acceptable foundation, an armature to paint the finished painting on. Brush the rag taketh, and it giveth too. I can add tone with it, you see.
So biblical.
these shadow shapes have to be very specific. I'm not just leaving an embossed tone. I'm trying to leave a plane that has a distinct turning of an edge that's overlapping her torso here. It's not just a mushy tone without distinction. Now we'll switch over to some of the softer brushes here and start to dry brush in some more subtle tones. I'm not dipping into the soup, I'm taking from the paint that came out of the tube. There's already enough medium even on this canvas that as I put the paint on with the soft brush, it almost melts into the surrounding paint. It becomes very easy to manipulate your edges. Did you have a maul stick in there too, Barrett? There it is. Okay, when Sarah comes back, we'll pick it up. But we started to get a pretty fast impression of the whole thing in one sitting. And that's what I'm after first, is the big effect. Not nuances, not highlights on the lips. Just the big effect.
Hey Mark, I have a roll.
Hmm?
You want it?
I just want to turn the camera off for a sec. How about the counter now?
There you go.
Okay. Okay, we were just about to unveil the maul stick. And the maul stick is really important. It's I like to paint loose and broad without one too, different, for different purposes. But to really, get this class and the benefit of what it's about, it's an opportunity to really a chance to finish, to hone down your more finished and refined painting skills. So you do need to get a maul stick or make one. But you're just not going to be able to get along without it. I'm mostly going to use soft brushes now to apply the opaque color, or rather the darks during this transparent painting process. So the process is 1/2 transparent, that's the phase we're doing tonight, and 1/2 opaque, which is the application of the Riley palette. Trying to be extremely conscious of the edges, soft or hard, with which I form the transitions between one shape and another, one plane and another, between the light and the shadow. Now that I've blocked in the head to this level, I can concentrate on specific shapes within the whole larger shape. And just what is the shape or set of shapes that eyebrow assumes? This is another reason that it's an excellent approach to painting for those who are comfortable drawing. Because if I'm not drawing now, I don't really know what I'm doing. This is as close to drawing as it gets without grabbing a pencil and dry medium. I'm really not putting much pigment on it either. I'm almost just staining the thing. Kind of scumbling the color on. The colorless color. In this case. Asking those Q-tips there. Darren, I'm going to start taking your Q-tips now, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks. Within the eye socket, really look for small, specific shapes and try to get them right. I'm just going to mask the iris with the dark shapes next to it for the moment. And we'll take a kneaded eraser and pull out the top plane of that lid, whatever other small details we need after we get these bigger shapes. Use a Q-tip either to take out or to lighten a shape. Just glazed a little tone over that to darken it a tad, and we'll continue. cast shadow has a very strong edge, as most cast shadows do in this lighting. And I'm going to really try to design its shape so that it curves over the barrel of the mouth. And only soften slightly at the corner. We can always add darks around the nostrils or in the nostrils, or even push comes to shove, we can lighten an area within the shadow if we're careful, and we can draw form within the shadow. But the first thing that's going to really get us where we want to go is to get the shadow itself. This area I'm painting, the side of her nose, is almost inevitably going to be darker than I want it to be because I'm just laying down pigment and it's going down kind of rough. So you saw me with a Q-tip lighten up an area while keeping its shape, or lighten it while changing its shape. All kinds of options. So let me just lay this in, and where it's too dark I'll just lighten it. But I'll at least find the plane. Now, who's got a needed eraser I can just borrow for a little bit? No one wants to go with their eraser because they know it's going to be ruined.
So you need.
Okay, thanks. It's not going to come out of this in the same shape it went in.